Thank you very much. Thank you. Say, kiti yako imechukuliwa bana, tafuta kiti huko nyuma. Welcome back to Sikika Sasa live from Charter Hall, Nairobi County. Crowd is getting warmed up and they're asking the questions. Governor, right before the break, Mary here asked the question about Wamama hawkers. They're being harassed by Kajo and all kinds of things, right? Mary, you want that guy and said, but you have a big problem with Pesa Mashinani, Governor, don't you? That whole connotation, Pesa Mashinani. Please answer the question. Give us a breakdown.
Thank you, Jeff. I mean, the issue of hawking, I think in any commerce of business, there must be demand and there must be suppliers. And I think hawkers respond to the demand by people who are leaving offices and they want to conveniently buy their wares and get into their vehicles, get into the matatus and go home. But we must keep order in a city like Nairobi. Like all other cities, we must not interfere with movement of people on pavements. And because of this, we will be putting special places, like very soon we'll be taking the hawkers down to Mwariro Market out in Kariako. I was in Isili on Tuesday, and I did announce that the people who are blocking the road, we're going to take them and put them in the 3-acre market. And we'll also do what happens in the big cities. I mean, those who've been to the UK, to London, know that on Sunday mornings, Liverpool Street is closed and people can sell their wares. So is Aldergate East. The same we will do here. And we will, in the spirit of 24-hour economy, we will put some streets where we can, where the soap people, the informal shopkeepers, can sell their wares. Our issue of Kanjo, actually I feel embarrassed about it because before I became governor, I also suffered in their hands. And we are taking them through trainings, we are sensitization, because they need to realize that it is you Nairobians who pay their salaries. It is you Nairobians whom they are supposed to protect. So they should respect you. And even if somebody had made a mistake or they need to be corrected, waseme na kuomba tafadhali toka kwa barabara. And what Nairobians must help us if there is if our people are behaving badly, they need to report. We've given our phone, the phone numbers.
Who do they call, Governor? Who are these people going to call?
Nelly knows exactly whom she can call and share the number.
Mary, do you know who to go to? Huh? Oh, Nelly, do you know who to call? Tukupatia number ya Governor? Oh, Munayo? Mami, uliza swali papo.
I'm sure, Nelly, you can give them my number, can't you? Nelly can give them my number.
Nelly?
Yes.
Nelly, wapatie number ya Governor? Huh? Yeah, he's a busy man. Inaito call waiting, okay?
Jeff, let me give them my number.
You want to give your number?
I always give them my number.
Okay.
They have my email address.
The governor is giving his number out live on TV. Governor, go ahead.
0728
60
1299.
Ebu pigeni sasa tuone. Mama, uliza swali hapo. Ngoja. Una swali? Uliza.
Kwa majina naitwa Queen Mwangangi kutoka Embakasi North Constituency. Swali langu nalielekeza kwa governor wa Nairobi. Tuna shida ya watoto wa street children. Wamekuwa scattered all over, wamekuwa nuisance, wanatoa vioo za magari Nairobi yote, tumekuwa hatuna amani. Una mpangilio gani kwa hao watoto kwa wakati huu?
Swali yako.
Kwa majina ni Morocco, the pioneer of Baba while you are away.
You're the guy?
Yes.
Ni wewe?
Ni mimi. Sasa mimi niko hapa siku ya leo kusema hivi. Tuko na 2 tiers of government ambazo tumeweka katika katiba ya nchi. National government na county government. Wakenya walikuwa na nia wakati walisema wanataka kuwa na serikali ya majimbo ya ugatuzi. Maanake tulikuwa tunajua wakati ambapo hatukuwa na serikali ya ugatuzi, maendeleo ilikuwa haipatikani mashinani. Watu wengine wanaweza kuuliza Governor Kidero or any other governor in this country ati afanye maendeleo, afanye ABCD, lakini Kidero ama governor yote hawezi fanya kazi bila pesa kufika mashinani. Kitu ambao tunasema cabinet minister wa devolution, tunasema tunataka pesa mashinani wala si masimoni. Tunasema 45% iende katika governor, 10% iende kwa CDF, 3% iende kwa MCAs, 1.5% iende kwa Senate ndio waweze kusupervise, na 0.5% iende kwa women representatives. Lakini sisi tukiangalia tunaona kwamba hamna nia ya kufanya kitu kama hiyo. Nyinyi tukisema tunataka pesa, ile kitu mnafanya mnatuletea terrorist of devolution by the name county commissioners. Mkitumia county commissioners wako katika kipengele gani ya katiba ya nchi? Maana kao tunaona wanatatiza devolution. Ya mwisho katika ndoketi yako tumeona ukifuta mtu ambaye anaitwa Ruguti unambadilisha na mtu kutoka kwa kabila yako. Inamaanisha unaendesha ukabila ama inamaanisha una run ndoketi as a pyramid scheme?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
While you were away, my friend. Endelea.
Okay, thank you. I'm Charles Praise. Toka naishi Kitengela but nafanya hapa town. Kwanza swali yangu ya kwanza inaenda kwa Ekwe. You said that this is the best constitution that has ever been made in the world. It's one of the best constitution. No, your statement is one of the good ones. You said that one. I meant one.
Okay, I'll answer your question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Then you said that people are asking you of the process of how you guys made the constitution, but not asking about the goodness of the constitution. Meaning, hawako interested with the constitution, the instance of the process you guys used. Two, when I think ile time tulikuwa tuna vote yes or the constitution, we agreed ya kwamba there were some areas that were going to be amended. There are places ulisema iko poa, of which tuta amend, of which watu walikubali tuta amend, wacha to vote. Then
how many questions are you going to ask, man? Come on.
Yeah, to our lady Anne. And I thank God for what you're doing, and thank you for what you're doing with the National Youth Service. But the problem is you are training these guys for 8 months. Then wanatoka huko wanaenda kuchimba mtaro na wanaenda kikazi ambayo Kanjo nitakana wafanye. And I think Kanjo kuna watu wameajiri kufanya hizo kazi za nini? Kufanya hizo kazi za kuchimba mtaro na ama kupanguza barabara. Which Kanjo hatuoni kama wanafanya. Kazi yao ni kushika watu, which watu wanaogopa saizi Kanjo hata kushinda polisi hapa Nairobi. Unapata mtu ashikwe na polisi na sio Kanjo.
Boss, hukuona hiyo commercial, hukuona unveiling last week?
That one is just
kuna wako digital bana.
No, they are good in saying and fanya advertisement.
Ushaona wewe? Ushaona Gilgil kuona?
Yeah, mpaka ulisema siku nyingine it is sexy. I heard you saying that. It's a sexy advert. I heard you. So they are good in doing that.
I get your point, my brother. I get your point. Go ahead.
No, to him.
No. You've asked the question. Next, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Go ahead.
My name is Honorable Elizabeth Manyala. I represent Kayole South Ward. I'm a MCA in Nairobi County. I have an issue with devolution, and I'm directing the question to Mr. Ekuyot.
Ekuru Aukot.
God, sorry.
Jesus, I can't even pronounce your name, man.
Despite all the work I did for them.
I am sorry. I apologize.
Go ahead.
Yes, because if I understand, devolution is the statutory transfer of powers from the central government to the subnational or the county government. And if you refer to the Article 174 E and H, it clearly stipulates what should be devolved to the counties. And up to now, we still see at the national level, MPs are still holding the CDF, and I wonder why. And CDF should be translated and transformed to the county government so that the MCAs can champion that, and the office of the governor can do the implementation, and we do oversight, because you will see again the same constitution says there shall be checks and balances. And so our work is oversight.
Okay.
So we will be checking that.
We get the point.
The second question goes to the cabinet secretary on third of gender that is clearly enshrined in the constitution. We are not feeling our women in public position. Why? And you are there. Fourth, the government press, the backlog is too much, is still at the national level, yet we have counties. So when our laws and bills are taken to the government press, it takes even a month. Why can't they be devolved to each county? Last but not least, I sit in a committee called Labor and Social Welfare, and that dockets deal with youth. And the National Youth Service should also be devolved to the county, that the work even today that was being done in Kibera should entirely be for the youth at the county, and the MCAs, Elizabeth Manyala, should champion that. Why are you taking our dockets? Are you killing devolution?
When people try to do good in this country, they get crucified, eh? Kaifafa. Cabinet Secretary, so the questions on devolution, NYS, and Baba, while you were away, his question about Ruguts. Go for it.
Okay. I'll start with the question on the 45% Mashinani. One of the things that I should say at the end, first of all, we need to be very careful. Let us separate the matters of devolution with politics. And I think many times we get carried away with politics, and then we move away from actually what the Constitution envisioned. Getting excited about numbers will not make the numbers a reality. 45%, my dear brother, of revenue cannot be given to the county governments, as I said, because functions are the ones that determine how much money a county gets. If you look at Schedule 4 of the Constitution, and I don't know whether you have read it, there is about 44 functions that remain to the national government. About only 15 functions were given to county governments. Let's have that clear. Then the Constitution also says, if any function is not outlined in Schedule 4, that function belongs to the national government. So the national government has a role to carry out, and that role also requires resources. If you just go to look at what the revenue of the government is and remove 45%, whatever is left is not enough to pay our debt as a country, it's not enough to pay security, the teachers in this country, it can't happen. And by the way, if you talk to the governors, that conversation happened today, and they were shown the numbers and they all agree. So the issue of 45%, just throwing the number pulling it from the hat and saying it's 45%, it will not work. And whether we get excited about it or not, it does not determine devolution. Let me say again, functions are the ones that determine the resources that you get. The second question, let me first, I'll do Rogut last. The second question on National Youth Service, that it should be accounted. Do you know why it's called national? Because it's supposed to be a national function. You cannot go and divide our youth according to county governments. What you will end up doing is polarizing this country and balkanizing it around ethnic enclaves. So we need to be very careful. The reason it's called national is because the national government exists to foster unity and national cohesion. In the National Youth Service, you have people from Kisumu, from Mandera, from Marsabit, from every constituency in this country. And those programs are intended, amongst other things, to bring people together, people from various places, and build national cohesion. The other thing it does, and now to answer the question of the gentleman at the back there, saying that we train them for 8 months and then take them to do Kajo work. Let me explain the concept. We do paramilitary training for 4 months. Paramilitary, what you see in the adverts, they run, they climb, it's supposed to build character. It's a training that the military go, it's about discipline. It's about giving out to yourself, because the government is going to be paying for you for free, training and education. There is something that also you should be able to give back. After you've gone through parliamentary training, being trained on strength, discipline, fortitude, patriotism, you come to the public and you serve Kenyans. It is not work for Kajo. It is national service. We give back to our country. And I hope that everybody at some point will volunteer to join the National Youth Service, regardless of how old you are, to be able to give back to your country. Because that's what we are teaching them when we're going to Kibera. We ourselves are going, training ourselves, the concept that we lost long ago, that we need to start giving back to society. After they have done their 4 to 6 months of national service, they go to class. Some go to School of Engineering, others go and do catering and fashion, others go to oil and gas, and that training takes 2 to 3 to 4 years. But in the whole training provides for a holistic person. So we're not just training people to go and sweep. Those people you're seeing sweeping, in 3-4 years, some of them will be engineers, some of them will be mechanics, some of them will be welders, depending on the training that they have gone through. So it's not just giving them work for the sake of giving them work. And I think it's important that we understand there is a whole transformational agenda around the National Youth Service. Now, on the question of Rogut, one transfer. The assessment was done of my ministry. The number 1 tribe in my ministry is Luo. The second is Luya. It's not Kikuyu. I am not a tribalist. In that document that transferred Rogut was one person. There were 9 other people who were transferred on that day. And in the years since this government came on board, we have transferred in government, according to government regulations, over 109 people in 1 year. In the last 50 years that the government has been there, every year through the central posting, people are moved around. Even today, people were moved. That is the nature of government. You're deployed as a civil servant according to your strengths and resources, and also according to other decisions that are made in government. So it is not a tribal decision. And I have been open to scrutiny, and I've told them, come and evaluate. My colleagues are half here, they can tell you. There is not, it was the decision to appoint Githinji was not based on ethnicity. So you cannot take one appointment out of all the appointments that we have done in the Ministry of Devolution and then make a judgment on one appointment. Even in research, you don't ask one person and then you say, based on what he has said, then the whole country wants to do that. You cannot do that. And I don't think it is fair on my side. The other thing is, my final on the 30% and women. Let me say something about the women. You don't feel us? This is the first time cabinet has 30% women. 30% of cabinet is women. They are not just women who are put in cabinet to fill the slots so that we can fill the quota of the constitution. Look at the dockets the women are holding. Defense, for the first time in Kenya, is held by a woman. Foreign affairs and international trade. And you can say you don't feel us? The women are there. East African affairs is a woman. Natural resources, urban and lands, is a woman. The biggest dockets in government right now are held by women. Secondly, every single board that has been appointed since this government has been on board, 30% are women. Meaning you haven't been checking, because if you checked, you would notice that all boards have 30% women. Now, if in the public service we are 22%, it's not because the government is not doing anything. We are not recruiting at this point in time. There's an affirmative action and we're very clear about that issue. So the issue and commitment to youth and women in this country has been demonstrated by the Jubilee government. And I should also add, Jeff, if you'll allow me, we have gone further beyond just employing and filling slots and ensuring that people are sitting at the policy table equivalent to men. This government, for the first time, and it's the only government I know in the world that has given 30% of all procurements in government for women and youth. And I think the government deserves a clap for that one. 200 billion worth of business has been set aside, secured for this category of people. Are we demonstrating? Yes, we are demonstrating commitment. And commitment is not in talking. And that's why I started by saying, let's be careful not to politicize matters of policy.
Right.
We need to separate politics and policy. We've demonstrated by facts that all those concerns that have been raised, this government has actually been
Cabinet
addressing.
Secretary, clearly you've done your homework, unlike some MCAs, but Paula Char here is asking, Paula Char saying MCAs are also referred to as honorable. Kutoka lini? tuendelee. Ekuru, someone asked about best constitution. What makes it the best? And real quick.
Yeah, first of all, I didn't say that Kenya's constitution is the best, and you can never find any perfect constitution anywhere in the world. All I say is that the way in which Kenyans went about making their constitution is being emulated in many countries. Right from the legal framework that we adopted, the timelines, the discipline with which we actually completed functions of the constitution. I think that is what many people admire. I've been to many countries. I've been to Zambia, Zimbabwe, Tunisia, Egypt. Now I'm in Liberia. There is nothing close to what Kenya did. So I think you really deserve to congratulate yourself for being disciplined and saying for the first time, we were tired of waiting for 20 years for a new constitution, because that's part of the dialogue. But I think having said that, Jeff, you know, it's not enough to give ourselves a constitution and just sit back and relax. It's what we do with that constitution. So for example, on the question of devolution, and relating it to the problem of unemployment and the problem of youth, I wish each governor was able to say, I am going to do my budget exactly based on the functions I've been given as a county government, which is Part 2 of Schedule 4. Then you cost those functions, and then on the basis of that, you can approach the national government and say, because of these functions that I'm supposed to implement in County XYZ, this is the cost for these functions. Now, I'm not sure what Dr. Evans Kidero is going to say after me, but I'm thinking, I'm still missing to see. And I'm not opposed to pesa mashinani. Like I said, I could even, if I was Uhuru Kenyatta today, I will even give them 80%, but I will follow that money to the last penny and make sure that it serves the people of Kenya, not going to Mashimoni.
Okay, Governor, let's go real quick. Governor, go ahead. Wait.
Probably let me just respond to what Wakili has raised, that the issue of the amounts that are being allocated. I'll go back to whatever we're going through right now is dynamic tension caused by probably lack of respect of various levels and functions of others, and suspicion. Take, for example, the issue that was raised in Parliament that governors should not fly a flag. A flag should be the sign, a national symbol of unity. We should be allowed to fly flags even in front of our houses. So what's wrong with if a governor flies a flag? I think, there was the second thing is governors being called His Excellency. What is in a name? A name is a sign of respect. It shows that you are at a level and you've been brought that by 600,000, 700,000 votes like Dr. Kidero got.
Governor.
The third thing, no, just wait.
What do you want to be called?
Jeff, I'm just saying the issues that are causing this dynamic tension. The third thing is the issue that the development committees to supervise what the governors are doing. Governors were elected as the CEOs of their counties, and they need to be given responsibility. The fourth thing, and probably responding directly to what Dr. Wakili said, is the Commission of Revenue Allocation in the last budget came up with a budget of 279 billion. And that's what they presented to IBEC. At IBEC, we sat with the Vice President, who's the chairman of IBEC, and there were discussions, and we agreed that the counties would be given 239 billion. Of course, when it went to Parliament, it was cut down to 219 billion. Then they added REA, which is rural electrification, to make it to 226, an extra 7. If only what the Commission had given or what IBEC had agreed on was respected and given, I don't think we'll be finding ourselves in this situation. So I think we just need to take a deep breath, move back, and recognize and respect the role of everybody in the new constitution.
Okay, real quick, fine, wait. Let me ask Paddy Onyango here. He's a former task force member on devolution. Paddy, your thoughts? Where's Paddy? Yeah. Paddy, give us your thoughts real quick. You got about a minute.
Hamjambo wa Kenya. Kwa majina naitwa Paddy Onyango. Vile amesema, I was a former member of the Task Force on Devolved Government. Currently, I'm the national convener of the Devolution Working Group, which is a professional technical team of a few Kenyans keen on ensuring that the devolved system works and serves the people of Kenya as was intended in the spirit of the Constitution. I want to say this. As members of the task force, we looked at the new system that we're having. The truth is, it is new to us. It has never been tried anywhere else in the world. Sisi ndio tumeivumbua. So naturally, something new will need time. And in the task force, we gave it 3 good years for it to start working. However, even before the 3 years have passed, I can stand here and testify that something has happened as a result of that devolved system. Hapo awali, pesa zote zilikuwa kwa nyungu ya kitaifa. Na kuifikia ilikuwa ni shida. Wabunge walikuwa wanasema, tupigeni kura twende Nairobi tuwaletee maendeleo. Lakini kwa sababu ya ugatuzi, maendeleo iko hapa papa. So, at least money is getting to the counties, which was never happening before.
Mashinani.
Mashinani.
I see Mashimoni. Asante Paddy. Okay, what's going to happen now? We have to go to the, I know you guys are having a lot of questions. Hold on a second, okay? We've got about 3 minutes before we go to the news, and I'd like each of my guests to quickly summarize a minute each. We'll take a break, come back, and then you can ask all your questions. Okay, are we together? Let's do this. Ekuru Aukot, starting with you you have a minute.
First of all, I think part of the problem that devolution, people problematize devolution and this constitution. Because when we started off, they started fighting over very small things that actually told us about the endemic problem we have in devolution, that perhaps it is a leadership question. Because people started fighting about flags, titles, and all kind of things. They never began to actually say, what is it that devolution means for the people of Kenya? So I think that's problem number one. The second thing, and I really want to echo what Paddy Onyango said, if there is one success story in this constitution you can choose, I think it is devolution. If you look at Article 174, it talks about facilitating, the functions of the national state to outside the capital of Nairobi. Today, if your governor is not using the finances properly, please do not blame it on devolution. If the MCAs are busy allocating themselves allowances, do not blame it on devolution. Blame it on the kind of leadership that you picked to ensure that devolution is realized. And again, Kenyans, you say in the Constitution, Chapter 6, that you are going to pick leaders of integrity. So this is the only country, by the way, in the world, again, and again I say, praise yourself, that as a constitution that has dedicated an entire chapter on leadership and integrity. In other words, you want a certain type and character of leader. So that even when you talk about devolution, you're actually saying, I'm giving responsibility to this leader. But honestly, if you put together hyenas with goats, just by way of metaphor, and then tomorrow your goat is eaten, I mean, who do you blame?
You blame the goat. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
No, you blame yourself.
Cabinet Secretary, you have a minute.
I think for me, what I would say is what I had said earlier. This subject of devolution needs to be tackled with a lot of sobriety. I think many times we get carried away by politics because we have one leaning or other. And so if our leader and the person that we like is heading in one direction, we all head in that direction regardless. I think for this country to hold together and for this country to realize the fruits of devolution as you have had, a lot of sobriety needs to be applied. We need to sit down and soberly ask ourselves very difficult questions. Questions of why did we devolve? One of them was to expand democracy. The second was to ensure that people have a right to choose, are able actually to choose the leaders that they want, and also to choose how they will be governed by those leaders. And it was to move us from what we had been clamoring for a very long time. We're in a situation where we had the winner takes it all. And so now we have 47 county governments, and therefore we choose our leaders ourselves and then hold them accountable. Let us hold ourselves accountable. Let us not just look at the issue of resources, because with resources, there are other things that come. There is accountability and transparency, and no one talks about that conversation. I think many of us just swing to the issues of money and think that our problems are actually going to be resolved by a lot of money. I agree with the Kiyot. As a country, we need to also start asking ourselves whether there is really a problem with us, and something that we need to innately deal with before we even start discussing the issues of devolution.
Good. Governor, you get the last word.
Thank you, Jeff. Mine is really to say, as Kenyans, we need to love our country, and we need to love our fellow Kenyans. The problem in this country is the leaders do not love the country enough. They think about themselves more than they think of the country. Devolution is working. And if you go to the rural areas, you will see evidence that is actually working, and it just needs to be given time. Last but not least, in Nairobi, I think probably one of the biggest problems, if you ask people, 64% think that security is the biggest problem. We'll recall about a year ago, we had the Westgate debacle, very sad. Our hearts still go out to the families that lost the loved ones. But we need to at least congratulate the government, because in Nairobi, security has actually improved. Whereas a year ago, we were reporting close to 1,000 crimes a month. We are down to under 500. And I think we need to congratulate the security forces.
Absolutely. Good point. Okay. Thank you. What we're going to do now, we're going to take a quick break. Before we do that, I'm going to read a quick tweet. Raymond Ojiambo says, "Hey, Mama, you have just been wow tonight. Well explained." A lot of support for you tonight. It was really well explained. We're going to take a quick break. It's time for primetime news. We're going to do that, come back, keep asking questions, because this show is continuing for at least the next 30 minutes. For you out there listening to us, if you're not going to be with us throughout this next half hour, next week, new show, new county, but Sikika Sasa rolls on. Kwa sababu kama si sasa. Could you say that even softer than this? Kama si sasa? Sasa hivi. Mumelala. Please help me in thanking my guests, the Governor of Nairobi County, Dr. Evans Kidero, Cabinet Secretary, Devolution, Anne Waiguru, and former Director, CEO of the Committee of Experts, Ekuru Aukot.